All right, so welcome again to everyone joining today. My name is Rosemary Jane, and today we are in a session called Google Certified Educator Tips and Tricks. And it's with me, Rosemary Jane. So, Google Certified Educator Tips and Tricks. Let me first let you know why there's not an agenda for today's meeting, and that is for today's PD, is because originally this was going to just be another repeat of the googly eyes, the tips and tricks that I do with Google. And I do have an agenda from that. I go through signing in and syncing, and there's going to be a few things that we do in this that'll be similar to that. But those sessions were more of a hands-on and work with me. In this one, in recent weeks, I've been getting more and more questions from teachers who are saying, I want to work on earning the Clever Academy certification, or the certification for Flipgrid, Flipgrid certified or whatever educator. And then, so there is also the Google one. I did go through levels 1 and 2 this year, and I just went through them in the later part of the year. So it's pretty recent and fresh in my mind, and I get a lot of questions about it. So I just decided to change my topic from Google tips and tricks in general to conversation around the Google Certified Educator level 1 and 2, sort of what my experiences were, where I got resources, and just what I feel like are some tips or tricks that you can use. So this is going to be largely, I'm going to show you some things, sort of tour you around some information, and then I'm going to open this up for questions, and we're going to talk about if you are interested in earning your Google level 1 certified educator, or even your level 2, what you could maybe do to do that, and then I just, I want to be here to answer your questions. So if you just want to ask me, like, what was a surprise on the test or something like that, I'm just going to share some of my experiences with you. So that's it. So with that being said, I want to go straight over to the Google Certified Educator Level 1, and I'm going to drop this in the chat. For those of you that aren't aware, everything with the Google Certified Educator program is all free and online, with the exception of the test. So anything that you want to learn or do, Google has done, in my opinion, a fantastic job of providing you with everything you need to train, practice at your own pace, place, path. It's truly a program that lends itself well to personalized learning, but with that common goal of everybody hitting this level. The Google Certified Educator, as well as the Apple Distinguished Educator and the ISTE Certified Educator, were actually the models that we built our CPS Distinguished Educator program on. So we looked at a lot of the things in these different programs. And so we're trying to build it out that it will be available similar to this. But we're going to stick with Google right now and just talk about these three areas. Get training. You can just literally go in here and start the training course. You sign in to your account, and you can start their fundamentals training, advanced training, device training. It's all there. And so you can see the ones that I did complete. And then I'm going to be honest, I did not complete all of them, but I worked my way through a lot of them. I didn't end up doing everything that I did in the Google one, but I just wanted to show you that as a launch point. So if you're looking to do the Google Certified Educator, I really recommend that you start with their Teacher Center and do the Google Certified Educator Level 1. Get training is right there. Now, I do want to point out that we offer training in Google. There's going to be a calendar session this Thursday. So there's district-based support, but you don't have to rely on that. There's also practice areas doing the unit reviews with sample exam questions. And so that's pretty self-explanatory, but I would definitely preview through those. And then when you're comfortable with the material, and for those of you who just have recently finished Stage 1 CPS Distinguished Educator, we made that really clear. When you're comfortable, if you're ready, if you know you can. So Google is based on that too. Then you take your exam. Now, The Google Level 1 exam has a $10 fee. It is 180 minutes with no pauses, so you need to plan to be in front of your device. Actually had to retake it twice because I had 2 interruptions, and they're not playing around. You get your time, and when it's over, you're timed out. And so, it cost me $30 to get my level 1 instead because I had to take it a third time. But there's also a time frame between retakes. So I would make sure that you feel ready to take it, because when you do take it, when you want to do a retake, if for some reason you either don't pass or don't finish in the 180 minutes, or whatever the case is, your Wi-Fi goes down, whatever happens, and you can't do it, it does force you to wait. I believe it's 2 weeks, but it'll explain it all to you. I think it's 2 weeks in between. And then the more often you have to retake it, they extend the window of time. So if you just take it once, you can take it again in like 2 weeks. But if you have to take it a third time, they're going to extend that window of time. And I'm ballparking here because I don't remember exactly, but it's like maybe up to a month. So plan ahead on that sense. Craig?
Yeah, sorry, we have a couple questions in the chat.
Great. All right. Yes, I would use your CPS Google account for the details for this, for sure. Do I suggest Google certified training or the distinguished? So, very good question, Roshana. Every CPS educator should do the CPS Distinguished Educator Program. That was actually sent out by our deputy superintendent. Your self-assessment was due on May 22nd. And your principals are going to get a weekly report right now about who has not completed that. So CPS Level 1 Distinguished Educator is something that if you check back in the materials, the suggested timeline to complete Level 1, and that is just like going through the self-assessment, selecting PD opportunities, or training yourself with available guides, whatever you need to do to get to that comfort level that you can do all those items, and then you submit one example of evidence for stage 1. That target date is by August 21st. So, and let me be very crystal clear about this. The self-assessment was due by May 22nd, just that you have reflected, just looking at where you currently are. So there's no wrong answers on it at all. It's actually a self-diagnostic tool more for you. The side of it that is for the district is for us to make sure we have PD that matches the need expressed in it. So there's no wrong answers in it. As honest as you can be, that's important. But then when we have startup week, there will be PDs built in to help get all CPS teachers, even our new hires. We've just been planning that for them, to get all CPS educators to achieve the Level 1 CPS Distinguished Educator by August 21st. So if you choose to continue working over the summer, we are here to support you in whatever you choose to do. But please know there's no expectation for you to be doing summer work if that's not something that you want to do on your own. Now, the Google Certified Educator is, how can I say this? The CPS Distinguished Educator this is our version of to be an educator in CPS, to be prepared to teach, whether we're fully remote, partially blended, or back full-time face-to-face. These are the skills and knowledge areas that we want all of our teachers to be at this baseline. So really the point of that program is a unifying sort of thing. It's also recognition for you teachers who do these things and go above and beyond. So please don't think of it as an either or. And please don't think of Google as being something that anybody has to do. There's no one at the district who's saying you need to do Google. What we are saying is, if you'd like to do Google, I'm going to support you with the information you might need, just based on the experience I had in the past year doing it myself. Does that help clarify, Roshana?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. Yeah, so everybody on this call, you should plan to complete your CPS Distinguished Educator Level 1 by August 21st. Google Certified Educator gives you a whole lot more skills and knowledge with using Google tools. All right, Nancy Butler asked, are the Level 2 requirements for the CPS posted yet? Nope, they're not posted yet, but they are very close. So again, refer back to the original stated timeline. The Level 2 is actually a targeted date by October. So we are working hard to release it soon. For those of you who are early, you've jumped in early and you've already completed stage 1 and you would like to move on, but we want to make sure we deliver the highest quality we can to you. So we are still refining a little bit of the second level of that. Okay. So the comprehensive list is coming. Yeah, just keep an eye out. We will be posting that to the Office of Curriculum and Instruction course, as well as the CPS Tech Talk course. And you will probably be getting an email from somebody at the district. The last one was from our deputy superintendent, but I don't know who's sending the next email. It will be announced. All right, let's focus back on Google for a moment then. So again, the Google Certified Educator, I changed topic. This was going to just be a Google PD session, but I had so much interest expressed in the Google Certified Educator program, so I can share what I experienced from that. So, and I'll record it and we'll put it out there on the channel. So this is where you start. You start at the Teacher Center and move through this. But I want to show you what we have that some of you may not be aware of in Schoology. And some of you are aware of it. In Schoology, and bear with me while I pull up the course. All right. Released this spring was the CPS Tech Certifications for Contact Hours course. So there are a lot of different tech certifications out there that you can earn just as a professional that will serve you well as an educator and will serve you well in whatever role you have in the district. These are things that are available across the board. Some of these are for a cost. Some of them are free, like the Google Certified that we're talking about today. It is free until you take the test, and you have to pay $10 to get the level 1 test. I personally didn't feel like $10 was too much to pay for that. I paid for that myself, and I did end up spending $30 because I had to take it a total of 3 times. Again, though, mine was timing out issues. I don't want anybody to think it was so difficult. I got timed out of it. If you can't dedicate your time to getting it done, my opinion was it took about 2.5 hours, and I got probably a little cocky and thought I'd finish it in under 2, and I did something in between and I shouldn't have, and so I wasted my time the first time. The second time I had a conflict come up and I couldn't finish it. So the third time I got it, but none of the times was it about the questions. All right, so if you look in here, we have certifications, and there is a folder that you will need to complete if you want to join this course. But we do have the Google Certified Educator Level 1, Level 2, and the Trainer. And what we have done is look into each program and look at the amount of hours that they estimate that it takes to earn that certificate. And then for the most part, we rounded up or even double, depending on what it is. So our team, the Learning Technologies team, looked at these, looked at the timeline suggested for you to study, looked at the timeline required to take exams, and then we buffered those up to give you contact hour credit that is more reflective of the amount of time you're going to actually spend on this. So if you do the level 1 certification, you can earn 24 contact hours that will be reported to your Launch Ed transcript. So I can imagine that there are already people who are interested in doing this. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this join code now. I'm going to go up to the top and just show you real quick that you will click on courses. And this is, sorry, I'll zoom here. You'll go to the top and click on courses. And then you'll go over to the far right and click on my courses. And then if you look to the far right again, there is a manage courses section, and you can click on join a course, and then you'll just input this access code. So I'm going to drop the access code. Do tech certifications. So there is no need. I had to register on Mayerson originally, or not Mayerson. I still keep calling it Mayerson, sorry. On Launch Ed originally, and I think that that's been removed. I don't want to misspeak though. You need to follow the directions in the course itself. Oops, I got out of it. So follow the directions in the course. This course was created and is managed by Megan Safko-Preslin, our digital learning manager. You can follow along with the updates. So if you do join the course and you want to work on it, guys, you could throw out a comment that says, hey, I'm going to be studying this or that topic for, let's say it's level 1. Does anyone want to do a virtual meetup so that we can study together? I mean, that would be one way that you guys can network together, and put it out there. You guys can host your own Google Meet and do a study session. You know, say, I went through some of the training guides. This part really surprised me. Does anybody want to meet and talk about it? So you could have your own study session on that. Myrna, yeah, the access code is actually right above your comment. So I copied it for you in the chat, if you look there. All right. So if you would like to join the CPS Tech Certifications course, you can do that. And then I suggest you do, if you want to do Google Certified Educator Level 1, that you get started with their training. I do also want to call out that in our pending shift to Gmail, from Novell GroupWise to Gmail, we are going to start to offer more PD offerings around Gmail. And I'm getting a ding, hold on. Oh, great, okay, you're welcome. I hate how tiny these things appear. All right, my personal recommendation to anybody who posts a Google slide as a menu, I would make it a PDF, and that's my personal bias. If you're making a menu, I would turn it into a PDF. And these are going to be some tips and tricks I can show you. Whoops. All right, so a little bit of shameless self-plug here. Our team, you guys are in my session today, so you must know about this, but I did post it to Office of Curriculum Instruction as well. But tomorrow morning, if you want to learn more things on Google, Megan is going to be hosting a session where she's going to focus on Google Forms with the slant of like stage 1 and 2 CPS educator lens. Because like the stage 1 educator is basically some substitution, baseline technology skills, where the stage 2 will get into some augmentation, a little bit deeper level tech, enhancing technologies. And so she'll be looking at Google Forms tomorrow with you. That could be a great session for you to join for learning more about a Google tool, and that's Forms. Google Forms can all be embedded right into Schoology. And so I have a PD session that will be coming up in a week or two called Leveraging Scoopal. And it's where I share with you the integration of Schoology and Google and how these products work together and can create a great seamless experience for our students and families at home. Ashley is going to do a session on the basics of Google Docs. So maybe you read Google Docs or write in them and even share them directly with your team, but you want to learn a little bit more about it, you could join her session. And then another Google session that is coming up Thursday morning is Google Calendar. I will say on my Thursday afternoon session, YouTube, for those of you that weren't aware, YouTube is a Google product. It's a Google app. And so and I honestly, this part I can't recall. I feel like there was a question in level 1, but there was a lot of questions in level 2 about YouTube use and creating playlists. And so my session on Thursday afternoon would lend itself well to somebody who's preparing to take Google Certified level 1 and 2. So if you're interested in YouTube, there's a lot of great things you can learn. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about my YouTube channel and what I provide. And the good news is that gives you some information that will help you when you are doing your level 2 certified educator. Absolutely, for sure. There was a lot of YouTube stuff in there. All right. So I'm going to pause, go back, and make sure there aren't questions. Okay, no new questions. All right, so some more of my tips and tricks. I'm going to start off with the baseline. Beating the dead horse. I've never had a training yet or a PD once where I didn't share this, but all of you should be using the Chrome browser for any work that you're doing for your job, use Chrome. I use Firefox when I'm using a student account to test something or when I'm getting into my personal Gmail account. I don't muddy the waters of those two browsers. If you need to use your personal account on the Chrome browser, like maybe you've added extensions that you absolutely want to use, that's fine. Just make sure that when you're doing your work, you sign in sync. You can add a guest or even another account. I will tell you that more often than not, the errors that we run into when you're using Google, and especially Google and Schoology, usually end up being related to a user who's got a personal and the work account on the same browser. I don't recommend it. So remember, this is called tips and tricks with me. This is my tip and my trick. I recommend you don't muddy the waters and put your personal Google account on your work browser. So if you are on your CPS district issued laptop, and I know not all of you have one yet, but if you're on a CPS issued district laptop and you're doing your work, I recommend you use the Chrome browser and you sign on and sync is on. I've been in many of these sessions before with users who say, well, I'm signed in, but it says sync is paused. So that's okay, right? Nope. Actually, your sync should be on all the time if you want to keep everything as refreshed and up to date as possible. When sync is on, you are linking your browser history, your saved passwords, your bookmarks, and your access to your extensions. Any extension updates that come out, you'll need to get those. Another thing that some people say is, well, on my 3-dot menu, there is a symbol. I don't have 3 dots. That means you need to take action. And you may have a message sitting up there that says you need to update Chrome. Or it may be letting you know that an extension has gone bad or is out of date or whatever, it needs updated. So pay attention to those signals at the top. So again, make sure that in your Chrome browser, you are signed in and sync is turned on. Now let me show that step further. I often work with users who say, yep, I'm signed in, because they're signed in down here. Okay, that means you're signed in to Google. You're signed into your Google Apps and your Google account. But if you're not signed into the browser itself and sync turned on, you cannot access extensions and you cannot get that live across devices updates for your browser history, bookmarks, and save passwords. So what do I mean when I say that? If I show my history, you can see some things I've recently closed here, but I also use my iPhone for different things. And I have a district Samsung. I'm an iPhone lover. But anyway, so I use my account across devices. I haven't gotten on another computer recently, so I don't have that to show. But even if I get on another laptop, I could be on a friend or spouse or partner's laptop doing some work. And if I sign in sync, and then please, if you're ever using a shared device, make sure you remove yourself. I'll show that. But I can still access all my history. So I don't have to be out of touch with anything. Google Chrome solves your password problem. And in my other training, which I don't want to rehash it too much, and I do want to get to a point of a lot more open Q&A, but in my other training on my YouTube channel, which I will put it in the chat for you. In that one, I get into specifics, like we dig into the history settings, the bookmark settings, and that's on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to pull that up for you guys. It's on my virtual trainings playlist. And just a minute to find. Here it is. It's my Work Efficiently with Google Tools Virtual PD. And that was on April 20th. Is that the most up-to-date one? 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, it is. Okay. Right, so this is a full hour-long PD session, and I get into some of those very specific things about Google. We get into the Chrome browser. Whoops. All right. Sorry, I'm on my sofa instead of at my desk. So I right-click like crazy when I don't have my mouse. Or left-click, whatever. Here we go. So here is the video on, I kind of nicknamed that session Googly Eyes, like it's all things Google. But the short of it is working efficiently. So we get into the browser, going into your settings, all of that stuff, history, bookmarks. We get into the settings section. We look into some of the settings that I recommend. So it gets very into the weeds of working more efficiently. Some settings that you can preset to work more efficiently. But it doesn't really get as much to the Google Certified Educator side of things. So I do want to shift to that. Now, if there aren't any other questions, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that are in the Google Certified Educator and how those can complement what we are doing with our CPS Distinguished Educator program and our focus on Schoology as our learning management system. So that'll be what I shift to next, unless there are specific questions. All right. Okay, if there's no specific questions, one of the things that I will share with you, and I don't know why I closed. Should have left the Google one open. All right, one of the things with Google Certified Educator is a big emphasis on the Google apps. And so I get a lot of people say to me, oh, well, I'm going to start using Google Classroom because I became a Google Certified Educator. And I have this to say to you. Okay, go ahead. Use Google Classroom if you like Google Classroom, if you're more comfortable in there. What I will tell you is how you can make that work within Schoology. And I'm going to do a quick dip into a resource that I want everybody who wants to focus on being a Google Certified Educator to have at your fingertips. My screen is tiny. Hold on. There we go. All right. If you were not already aware, every school has a page, and then the district also has a page in Schoology. Under our page resources, we have this folder called For Teachers, Templates and Materials You Can Use Now. And what do I mean by that? I mean, take these, put them in your course, and you can use them right now. Okay, so the one I want to look at is information on my Google Classroom. And let me heavily preface this with, I am not telling anybody to go and create a Google Classroom if you've never used it. I am talking to our educator friends who already use Google Classroom, and it's your preferred tool because you have the most comfort with it. Then use it. You should use the tools that work for you, and especially what works well for your students. But you can't use it in isolation because Google Classroom is an online classroom tool. It helps you share out documents, assignments. It gives you a place to give feedback, but it is disconnected from everything. It is not a learning management system. So I created a template for those of you who do use Google Classroom already, and just with some information that says students are completing work in my Google Classroom. Click on the image below to go to my Google Classroom and see below for more information for students and parents. If the user, whether it's a student or a parent, clicks on this, it's going to take them to Google Classroom. Now, Google Classroom is going to open up differently depending on the user. So these are the classrooms I'm in. If I go in as a student, and I am going to show you that in a moment, it will be specific to that student and what they are in. So in this template, what I've included is context. It is not okay to just put a link to your Google Classroom in Schoology and say, I linked to it and I'm done. So that doesn't provide context. And one of the things that we have been really focused on in our Distinguished Educator program and in our future work we're doing to build some model coursework out for you guys is empathy in design. Meaning we need to put ourselves in the user's seat, in the student and their parent at home. By and large, the biggest piece of feedback we got, and many of them were from actual district employees who have students in our district, and the mass confusion and difficulty in keeping up when I have one child at home and maybe I have, I've got siblings, 2, 3, 4 children in my home. And I like to use this example of a fourth grade student who has a reading teacher, a math teacher, a science and social studies teacher, and then their specials teachers. Across the board, that one fourth grade student, and this isn't a made up one, this is a parent I talked to who's a district employee, had to go to 5 different locations. One was using Schoology, another was using Class Dojo, another was using Google Classroom, another was using Facebook, and another was using their own website that they've been using for years. I kid you not, for the one child in their home, 5 different locations. That was unreasonable for that child and unreasonable for that parent. So everything needs to be hubbed in Schoology and given context. I was in another PD where I talked with people who were using Google Classroom, and they said, oh, so all I have to do is put a link to it in Schoology. No, you have to provide context. You need to let them know what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I created this template for you, and it is simple. Just tell your students whatever you want to tell them here. And then tell the parents something. I would actually probably bump up this font because my tips for parents is just as important. Tell whatever you want your parents to know. Because if a parent clicks on your Google Classroom, they're not getting into what the student's seeing, and they shouldn't. You also do want to include information on joining, because what you may not be aware of is when your students join a Google Classroom, it is that easy for them to also unenroll themselves. Can't do that in Schoology. Can't do that in a true learning management system. So we had a very tech-savvy young student, middle schoolish age, who was removing himself during COVID from his courses when mom would check his computer and want to check his work. Schoology had no work reported in it, and he was just unenrolling himself and then re-enrolling because all he needed was the code. Smart little kid, and so this part of the template was added to help with that. So if you are interested in using Google Classroom, in continuing to use Google Classroom, my tip for you is hub it in Schoology, and you don't have to create anything. You are welcome to just use the template that I already built for you. If I were using this template, this is what I would do. I would go over here to information on my Google Classroom. I would add it to my course. I'm going down to my, ignore the amount of courses I'm in. I'm in a stupid amount of courses. Okay, I'd add it here. I'll just add it. All right, as soon as I add it to my course, I can go up to courses, go to my course. Remember that Schoology always drops everything right to the bottom. So there it is. I did create this template to be displayed in line. If you don't like that, the first thing that I recommend you do is actually just go in and unpublish it while you edit it, or edit it on the spot. And I'm almost past my Google Classroom into Schoology. I know that doesn't totally relate to the topic, but this is my tip for you. All right. When I pull this in, I need to give some context information here. So I'd say whatever I'm going to say to my students right here. We are using this for our assessment. I know Rashana worked with her students and did this for a little while. She was using a tool called Assessments. That was a product that complemented her Engage New York lessons that only worked. The auto grading feature was only enabled in Google Classroom, so she had to use that. Well, then I would tell my students that we are going to Google Classroom for our assessments activities. And then they would have that context. Then for parents, it could be that your child's going to log in here to complete whatever, and I might tell them how they can help or assist or give them a link to whatever would be helpful. And then down here, what you just need to look for in this template is any location with brackets, you customize those. So you're all going to have a custom course code. I'm not teaching you how to create a Google Classroom. That's really not my goal. If you complete level 1 and 2 certified educator with Google, you will need to learn how to do that. But that's all there. I'm also going to tell you that I would probably replace this image. I pulled the generic Google Classroom image and I linked it. You guys saw it opened up Classroom for me, which worked great. I tested this out with a student who was in a Google Classroom before I released it. But I would take my snipping tool and I would want a picture of my course. I wouldn't want it. So let's say I'm Jessica. I would love to be Jessica. She's awesome. I would take that snip and I would save it and I would replace that image in the template and link it out to that, just to customize it. You don't have to, though. This works for anybody. You can literally pull this over to your course, put your information in the bracket there, there, and there, and it's good to go. You can publish it and you're good to go. All of it works. So that is using Google Classroom in the context of Schoology. I will also note this, that when you are in your Google Classroom, and I'll just go into this one as an example, I can post a discussion to my class. So I can tell them anything that I want to, and I can give an announcement in Schoology, but it is not connected to their parents. It is not part of a learning management system. A parent isn't going to get a notification, and if they do, it's going to be fragmented. I recommend, my tip to you is that you do all of your update communications in Schoology, because that, let's look at the parent perspective real quick. If I'm in my parent account, I can see my kindergartners updates, and then I can see my high school students updates in one app, in one location. Don't make your parents go to multiple locations. That was a major pain point for our parents. So as a parent, I want to just be able to toggle between my students and see the updates. So folks, if you're using your Google Classroom, go in your class in Schoology, your course in Schoology, and if you want to post an update that says new assignment in Google Classroom, write that right here, and then put your link to your Google Classroom here. All right, that's my tips for Google Classroom. If you want to earn the Google Certified Educator level 1 or 2, you do need to learn a little bit about Google Classroom. There's nothing in the CPS Distinguished Educator about Google Classroom. And if you were going to say, yes, Teresa, I'll give you the quick link to that template, it's already done. I released it sometime, I think in April. If you were going to pick one right now, if you said, oh, wow, that looks really great, I've heard great things. My personal recommendation, remember, these are my tips and tricks, is don't learn anything about Google Classroom. We have a learning management system purchased at the district. Your students are all auto-rostered. It connects with your PowerSchool gradebook. Parent accounts are automatically generated, and those parent accounts connect those parents to all their children in the district, pre-K to 12. It's by far the superior tool. If you already use Google Classroom and there's functions that you enjoy or that you don't want to lose, or that maybe you're going to transition but you're not ready yet, then please use the template that I built for you. All right. I'm going to link that for you now, Teresa. So it's just in Cincinnati Public Schools, and I'm going to show you how you can pull it over if you're interested. Resources. In the CPS resources, it's the second folder down for teachers templates you can use now. It's in that folder. And it's this one right here, information on my Google Classroom. So I'll give you the link. There you go. So that's the link to the Google Classroom template for Schoology. Always provide context, and I would give a minimum of once a week an update to your Schoology courses, and then continue working. So how do you get to CPS resources? Because I'm not seeing Cincinnati Public Schools on my end, just my school. I'll show you that right now. Great question. So when you hit your drop down, yes, it is just your school. Click on the name of your school, and what you will see to the far right is every district school as well as Cincinnati Public Schools. So it's right, it'll appear right about here. Because it's my association, I'm associated with the district level, that shows up for me. But I want to show you in your courses how you can get this as well. I didn't have to go there at all to get it. You can get it from right inside your courses. And I have a 5-minute tidbit video on my YouTube channel about how to do this. Oh, I just got a new subscriber. Hey, are you in my PD right now? Cool. All right. If you go to add materials, I want to show you how you can get the template. And I have one for Google Meet. I even have one for Class Dojo. And I have a very strong biases on what you should use and why, but I'll spare you those. All right. Add materials. You go down to the very bottom option, and it's import from resources. And after I show you this, I'm going to hop on my YouTube channel and give you the 5-minute link that recaps how to do this. All right. So our school resources are actually under the category of group. So to the far left, it defaults to personal. You have to click on group. Whoops. All right, once you click on group, just so you're aware, it is not under the group resources, so you can collapse that if you want. It's under school resources. So this group of resources is our school resource. I scroll down to Cincinnati Public Schools, and there's that folder, and there's that template. I can click that template and import it, and I didn't even have to go to that group. I can do it from right inside my course. So I'll recap real quick. It was add materials, the very last option, import from resources. Oops. We select group on the far left. We go to school and select Cincinnati Public. And it's that second folder right there for teachers, templates, and materials you can use now. And you can expect for a lot more things to be added to this soon. But right now there's the Google Classroom one, and please go ahead and explore this any kind of way that you want. There's all kinds of materials in there you can use. All right, let's get back on Google. I'm going to come over and make sure I haven't missed any questions. I did answer the CPS resources. You are welcome, Elizabeth. All right, we are at 10 minutes left. I would like to open the microphone for any questions. We're going to do it popcorn style. Anything that you want to ask about the certified educator or my experiences with it or what I recommend, fire away. Just use your best netiquette. If some two of you start talking, you just back up, popcorn style, and go. Any question? And you can type it too. You don't have to say it, but you can just unmute. Colleen. I don't recommend you set up a Google Classroom at all. Nope. I actually recommend, if you are going to spend your summer learning about anything, that you learn about our learning management system. As a district, we've invested in a learning management system across pre-K to 12 that does connect with our student information system, Gradebook Power School. The skills and knowledge you will gain learning how to navigate and use a learning management system are completely transferable skills. So if you've got to invest your time learning about one product or another, it would be Schoology. Yeah, I love Schoology better. It's better, in my opinion, for a lot of reasons. Even when I've met with people and talked about some of the things that we find clunky or cumbersome, a lot of times it's just we're still on that learning curve. We're learning how to do it. We can understand that it's Myrna. Could you? I can't tell if you're asking a question or making a statement. Craig, what did you find was the most challenging part of the certification test? So I think it depends on the individual person, but from my experience, I'm not really good with data and spreadsheets. I can use them to do averages and things like that. But in the level 2, there was something called creating a pivot table that I'd never done before. And I figured it out during the test. It was a challenge for me. I found out after I took the test that I was on the right track. I'd seen it before, but it was, I'd forgotten the terminology and I was just lost. But it's really about, if you have any Excel background, like my only background was in Excel, I was never very good at creating charts and diagrams out of the data. But when I create them, they really help me to see the data in a graphical way. So that was a learning curve for me, just in data review in general. I will say that my background knowledge in Excel helped me figure out the part in Google. And I still think Excel is I don't know what the right term is. I think even if you Google it, Excel is a more robust tool for data processing and what you can do with your data. But Google is, for what we do every day as educators, Google's a great tool. So I would look at spreadsheet and data manipulation. And data reporting, that was a struggle for me, and I had to learn a little bit extra about data in that part of it. The other part of it was YouTube. I had an awesome what do they call it, serendipity, or it was a great like accident that happened. I happened to get completely into my YouTube channel and creating playlists and adding collaborators, and then when I took the test, it was like, oh, this is all on the test. This is awesome. So my Thursday afternoon session, there was a lot of stuff on the level 2 that I do in my session that I'm doing Thursday afternoon. So if you want to learn more about YouTube, join my session. But hey, if you can't make it, I'm going to record it. And after I post my recordings, I always put it out there. So you won't miss it. If you want to join it, you can do it anytime, any place. Myrna, yes, it is required for us all to do the level 1 certified educator. And you can actually refer back to the email. If you don't have that handy in your email account, we did copy it directly into the Distinguished Educator program. It's right here in your Office of Curriculum and Instruction. And there is that email, and it outlines everything for you. Stage 1 by August 21st, your assessment being by May 22nd. Everything is outlined in here. If you didn't get it done, okay, this is a session with me having my tips and tricks. Don't stress out, but do prioritize it. We did ask that, and when I say we at the central office did ask that you complete that self-assessment before you left by May 22nd. And so if you just missed it, or you just had so much, things happen, just prioritize taking that as soon as possible. Remembering that self-diagnostic tool is simply that. It's for you to reflect what you need to learn, what you can do or can't do. And it's for us to make sure that we are providing training opportunities that meet the needs reported in that form. So that's what that form is for. You're welcome, Myrna. Is the test multiple choice, or do you have to, so there are 2 parts to the test. And so the first part is all multiple choice. Well, no, it's not multiple choice, sorry. The first part is all like a standard assessment. There are multiple choice questions. There are drag and drop questions. There's some different assessment types, but it's like a test. And then the second part is a performance-based. It will give you scenarios and you have to do things. They actually set you up with a test Google account. You have to sign out of everything and you go into an incognito browser and you sign into their test account, and you are given scenarios that you have to do. Like, for example, it might say something like, your student has, look at the data in this table, and the students that have been shown that they're not passing, they're failing their tests. And you have to get them sorted out in the data. And then you have to share that with the principal. And they've got these fake principal accounts set up. They've got a fake team set up for you. They've got fake students set up for you. So they have you email the student. They have you share the data with the principal. They have you reach out on Google Calendar and calendar a meeting with parents. They have you create appointment schedules. So you're using all the Google tools to communicate with your students. The thing I found the most surprising is how little you actually use Google Classroom in level 1 and 2. It was very little. It was mostly about email, spreadsheets, calendar, YouTube. Classroom was in there, but it wasn't much. I mean, I'm not saying don't learn Classroom. If you want to take level 1 and 2, follow the training guides, but it wasn't as much of the assessment in level 1 or 2 as I was expecting. So yeah, multiple choice isn't quite the right word. You do have all the answers in front of you for the first section of it. And then the second section of it is the scenarios. And so you have to it's a performance-based. So you have to create an email. You have to create a calendar entry, and you have to share it with people. You have to create items that you share with people just as viewers only or editors. And it walks you through. Plan on it taking the full time. I finished level 1 in about 2.5 to 2:30 or 2:40, and you have up to 3 hours. Level 2, I took 2 hours and 52 minutes to finish. So I took the full time. Plan on the full time. I also am a terribly nervous test taker. I'm very proficient in what I do, but I hate taking tests. And so I immediately I freak out over a test. So hopefully if you're a confident test taker, maybe you can shave your time down. But it took me close to the full time the first time, and almost all of the full time the second time. All right. Any other questions on my Google tips and tricks? I think I put the link into the Google.
There's a question, Rosemary, on the chat.
Perfect. Hey, Craig, would you mind reading it to me while I pull this up?
Sure. When we roll over to Gmail, will we be able to use our school email account on the account? Will there be
It's going to be your school email. Your address isn't going to change. So your Gmail account, the domain is still at cpsboe.k12.oh.us. So you're not going to experience a change. You just, instead of going to Novell, to the group-wise email, you'll go here and there will be an email tile that appears in your apps.
And then will there be future training on Gmail to prepare?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For everybody. Sorry, I keep hitting enter too quick. There it is. I'm going to drop your link, and then I'm going to also give you the 5-minute video on how to pull over resources. I know it's from Schoology, but because it was about Google Classroom, I do want to provide that. Let me send your form. Yep. All right. So I'm dropping in the chat for you now, since we're near the end of the hour. Contact hours and feedback form. All right. Let's look here at the form itself. You do have to input your email address, last name, first name, and employee ID number if you want to get contact hours. If you don't need the contact hours, you can skip the employee ID part. You don't have to do that. Please indicate your role, the building or buildings that you teach at. This was a 30-minute to 1-hour session, so mark the first option. My name is Rosemary Jane, mark my name. Please rate everything in this section. This part is required, but if you could, I really appreciate your feedback, your comments and questions. One, I'm a words of affirmation person, so if you liked what I provided today, let me know. It really helps me out. If you needed something different, or if you came to this expecting something different, and so you need something a little more targeted, let me know. It's how I get better at what I do. And my role is to support you in your work. So I appreciate if you would leave some comments or questions. If you would like to attend more training opportunities, this links you right out to our virtual PD session that I shared at the beginning of the session. This takes you straight to our Tech Talk course. And then, of course, if you need any additional help, we've got the ITM help email right there. I do always point out and recommend that you guys tick the selection here to send me a copy. That is not automatically turned on. And we do get a lot of people reach out to us and say, hey, can you tell me if you got my feedback? And actually, I probably can't, because I just don't have time to answer all those individual questions. So if you could just turn that on, send me a copy of my responses. I ought to just turn it on. That's actually set in computer forms. It's not on yet, so please turn it on. And with that, I'm going to drop the 5-minute video, and I am done. Unless there's another question you guys want to shout out. I'm just giving you the 5-minute video on how to pull over resources, because I show you both ways to get to it. This is my tidbit playlist, and every video on here is 5 minutes or less. So resources at your fingertips and samples you can use. The content might be a little dated because it's talking about the remote learning packets, but the concept is still good. And that video, I cover that in 4 minutes and 59 seconds. So. All right. You're welcome, Valencia. All right, the class evaluation was just above. It says contact hours and feedback form. I can drop it again if you need. All right. Well, with that, we've got about 26 people left in here. I don't remember how many were in here, and I think I'm supposed to report that. Anybody know? Craig, did you notice how many people were in here in the middle?
Yeah, I'd say it was about that. I think it was
Okay,
25, 26.
Okay, good. I'll just leave it at 26. All right, well, that's a wrap for that. I'm going to stop the recording. And then if you could just exit yourself from the call. Let me stop.